This is the Made for Success podcast, and this is Chris Widener, speaker and author of over 15 books, including the New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller, The Angel Inside. The Made for Success podcast will help you turn your potential into performance, succeed in every area of your life, and achieve your dreams. And now, enjoy the show.
Our guest today is David Cook. David is president of his San Antonio-based peak performance firm that bridges the gap between the sports and business arenas. As well as speaking and coaching, he directs creative leadership retreats that incorporate golf and/or wilderness adventures in the Texas Hill Country. David has been named one of the top 10 sports psychologists in the world, is known as a leading authority in the science of peak performance, and represented the United States at the International Olympic Academy in Olympia, Greece. He is a frequent speaker for the prestigious Zig Ziglar Corporation, has served as mental training coach for the world champion San Antonio Spurs, and counseled hundreds of top athletes and businesses such as Exxon and American Express. Good to have you here, David.
What a great time to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I want to tell you about an experience I had and use that as a platform for you then to tell us the importance of this, the importance of a coach and the right coach. When I was 11 years old, I had a great job. I was a ball boy for the Seattle Supersonics.
Oh, wow.
7 years I spent. And I started shortly after the season started, and we were 2-11. And when we got to 5-17, the owner of the Sonics at the time said, enough is enough. Eliminated the previous coach, Bob Hopkins, who'd been the cousin of Bill Russell and taken over when Bill Russell left. Fired Bob Hopkins and hired who became the winningest coach in NBA history, Lenny Wilkins. Same players. He made a couple of adjustments. Same players. Went from 5-17 to reaching the 7th game of the World Championship, same year. We came back. We lost the World Championship that year to the, what at the time were the Washington Bullets. Next year we won the World Championship. Same team, different coach. What is the importance of a coach, and what does a coach do that turns those same people around and enables them to go from 5-17 to making it to the 7th game of the World Championship, winning the World Championship the next year? What does a coach do? What's the importance of a role? And whether it's a coach or a business owner, mom and dad, same role, what's the importance of that?
Yeah, let's start with what a dad is and how that, a dad is a guardian of a dream. When a kid is born, they're given skills and talents, and a father and a mother, they're there to help that dream come alive and true and really lead the kid, not push them, not beat them, not press them, but encourage and draw them into their dream. And those children that have parents like that, they're free. They're free to compete for that dream, and they so often that they get there, the journey is so awesome. It doesn't even matter if they finally get to the end of the deal. A coach is no different. A coach must create a dream that the players buy into, and the players must have ownership in that dream. And some coaches are really good at that. They understand. It's not just about X's and O's when you get to that level. It's about the heart and the passion of the people that are playing for you, and it's about the mind. It's about being able to get them up and manage the interference in their life and the whole world of professional sports. And some people have a knack for doing that. Others are really good at technicians, and they're really good with X's and O's. And the great coaches, I believe the greatest coaches of all times, have this ability to reach in and to create a dream that people can believe in. And they want to be on that bus, and they want to be a part of that. And so they join in, and they take their talents and their gifts, and they strip off the fear of failure, and they get after it. And that's the power of influence in a person's life. The words that we speak as a coach, as a leader, absolutely will influence.
Like how? Tell me, because I think that's a really important point. What do we say? How do we say it in order to bring alive? You know, there's the old proverb that says the tongue has the power of life and death. And it's really true in a coach, a parent, a boss. How does that work? What we say and how it inflames something in somebody?
Well, language is the great influencer. I mean, it's what connects us. And the words, language is made up of words, and different words have different meanings. What we have to understand when we're leading people is that the same word can mean something different to someone else. For a young man that comes in from the city the inner city, respect is a big deal for that young man. And to say a word of failure towards that person in the context of a group of people is a real symbol of disrespect. For another kid that grew up in a military family, and they walk in and you challenge them in front of a group, it's, yes, sir, I'll do it, I'll be better next time. You get a totally different response. Our job as leaders is not to come in and say my way or the highway. I just don't believe in that. It's to lay the groundwork of what you expect, but then understand that people are motivated and inspired differently, and you got to carefully, very carefully, watch the words that come out of your mouth. When I was a professor at the University of Kansas for 12 years, I chaired a lot of dissertations and theses, and one of my students wrote his dissertation on NCAA Division I basketball coaches. And we sent a questionnaire out to all the basketball coaches. Who would be the role model coaches for young coaches to look up to? And the leading candidates were Krzyzewski and Dean Smith and Denny Crum and Roy Williams and John Wooden. And my student went out and interviewed these guys. And he looked for commonalities. And there was a couple of them. They all said this, that their purpose really was to get their team on the court with confidence. That was an agreeable point among them, that if I could really boil it down to, I want my kids to put their foot on the maple on game day, believing that they can be successful. So the follow-up question is, how do you do that? And every one of them agreed with this formula with a little different number. They said, for every criticism, for every mistake correction, for every weakness that you point out, you better come back with 3 positives. Roy said, I think it's more like 8 to 1 or 3 to 1. And so that young people that are coming up, they want to be the best, they want to be coached, they want to get there. If you want to build somebody strong, you don't beat them up and break them down. See, that's a model that we sort of grew up with, and that leaves a lot of people and talented people on the outskirts because for whatever reason they came in and they crumbled under those words. However, if we use different words, you build strength, you build power. These people are able to realize some dreams. In the past, we didn't have time. Time was an issue. So you come in there with the guns blaring, you say, do it my way or the highway, get it done now, screaming and hollering. And we bring in a military model because in the military, you got bullets coming at you, and it's a life or death. In sport, it's not. You know, and we've got people coming from all different backgrounds. They're not coming in to go to war. They're coming in to accomplish a goal in a mission. And they can be tough, and you can be hard on them and all that stuff. But the issue is, are you more positive than negative? And we just know this, that for most people, and these coaches, every one of them agree. These are these are the coaches that they said would be the role models for the future generations. They all said more positive than negative. Rick Pitino spoke before me on a platform the other day. He said, if you're not more positive than negative, then you need to get out of coaching. He said that's the biggest change in his life of coaching from where he was to now, is the switching from negative to positive. People understand that as you move through life.
Well, what's interesting is when you list those names, they are names that we all know because they're winners. You know, you listed off that name of basketball coach, and I'm thinking, sure, yeah, that's who yeah. And it's because they're winners. And they're winners. I find the connection between the two to be very interesting.
Right.
It's the people who recognize that become the winners. They're the ones who win the competition, but they also win the hearts, and they're the ones whose kids keep coming back to the colleges to visit them.
You know who was far and above all of them is John Wooden.
I was going to say probably.
And you know what? My student called him, and John Wooden said, you can come to my house. And he spent an entire day in John Wooden's house. John Wooden gave him an entire day of time to speak about this issue. He thought it was so important. A student. I mean, that's beautiful.
The story I love about John Wooden is when Bill Walton showed up and had a beard. And
long hair.
And he said, sorry, Bill, we don't have beards on the team. And he said, well, I'm going to wear a beard. And John Wooden says, well, we're going to miss you.
That's exactly right.
He headed straight to the barber, took it off, and came straight back.
And so, you see, he wasn't negative. He
Sure.
said, I appreciate your conviction.
Yeah.
We're going to miss you.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, you called him all kind of names and yelled at him, he just basically said, I believe in your conviction. Conviction's important, but we're really going to miss you on this team.
Yeah.
So you lay down the rules. There's 2 ways to coach. One is what we call conditional acceptance, and the other is called unconditional acceptance. Let's just take it in terms of being a college coach. I ask the coach this question. I always ask them, which one would you lean towards? And they say, well, what do you mean? I said, here's conditional coaching. The team shows up day one, and you look at them and say, here's the deal. You do this, you do it my way, and you do it with intensity and passion, and you never miss a step. And maybe you'll play on this team. But I'm telling you what, every one of you is expendable, and you need to understand that. And if you get out of line, you're out of here now. You understand that? That's conditional. So the players come in understanding that if they don't make a mistake, then they're okay. And that if they don't make a mistake long enough, they might get to play. And if they don't make mistakes in the big games, they might even get a pat on the back someday. That's conditional acceptance. The other coach sees them and they come in and they go, you know something? You are the most prized possession in the world to the parents that sent you here. And I count it an honor to have you be a part of this team. Now, let me tell you something. First and foremost, this is a family. And you know what? There's differences in families. And there's going to be arguments and complaints and things like that. But you look around, this is our family. And I want you to know I'm going to honor that. And as long as you're here, you're going to play on this team and be a part of this family. I love you. I want you to know that. Right up front. Deal. All right? You'll never, ever, ever wonder if I love you or not, or if you're a part of this team. Now, let me tell you the rules. You better show up, and you better show up on the right time. I'm going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed before because I care about you, because I have a dream about this program, and I want you to be a part of that. And if we get there, at the end of that dream, you'll know why I pushed you so hard, but you'll never question that you're a part of this team. Unconditionally, I want you to know I love you. Now, that's a different. These people are pushed as hard as these people, but these people play out of the fear of failure, and these people play out of acceptance. I'll tell you a story about that. You want to hear a great story?
Yeah.
It was the University of Nebraska volleyball team in 1995, and their coach, great friend, tremendous individual, his name is Terry Pettit, was coaching, and they were in the semifinal game and going to the national championships. He had a 21-year mission to bring in a national championship to Nebraska, and they're getting close. But in this particular game, the other team had the momentum. And it was near the end of the game, and I'd asked him that question earlier in the year about this conditional or unconditional coaching, and it affected him. We talked deeply about it, and he said, I want to say this, but maybe I'm not all the way there or whatever. I mean, he's a great philosopher, and he really wants to take things to heart and build that into his program. It's near the end of the game. They've lost some momentum. The other team has now scored several points in a row, and they're losing it. The dream is over, and he calls timeout. It's just about at the end. And he says the team's coming towards him. He said, I have no clue what I'm going to say to this team. He said, I'm not a, big hugger, big, lovable, huggable bear like some coaches might be. I love the girls. I'm serious. We do business, and I teach. I'm a teacher. But he said they came to me and they looked at me, and they were looking for something. They were looking for hope because they had lost it. They had lost momentum. And all the girls circled around him. And he said, I don't know where it came from, but it just started bubbling up from the inside. And I looked at him. And I just slowly moved my eyes across the room, around that little huddle. And I looked every girl in the eye and I said, I want you to know something. Whether you win or lose this match, I love you very, very much. And he turned and sat down. That was it. The other team's over there diagramming plays, and they're doing their X's and O's and all this kind of stuff. And there's still 20 seconds to go on the timeout or whatever. And his girls, they just got tears in their eyes. They almost just burst out in tears. And as he walked out of the huddle closed. They put their arms around each other, and they said, let's go. They walked out on the court, and they just stared at the other team, waiting for them to come out. Something changed in their hearts. The other team came out. And they served, and it was in the sudden death back then, and Rally Point was going, and Nebraska scored and scored and scored and scored and scored and won. And the other team had no chance. At the honors banquet at the end of the year, every girl, they ended up winning the national championship. Every one of the girls, every single one of them said, Coach, and they looked at him, the season turned on a dime when you told us that no matter if we win or lose, you loved us. And you know what it did? It freed them up. It took all of the fear of failure and it freed him up. And that, I don't know why more coaches can't do that. I tell you, the ones that I admire do. Roy Williams, I love that guy. He did that. He does that. He was one I was as close to at Kansas as any. They're able to do that. The players understand that they care. I think the issue of Roy moving to North Carolina probably hurt him, that decision, harder than anybody else finally making it. I mean, who can blame a guy for going home? His dream when he was a kid in North Carolina was coaching North Carolina basketball. And he turned Kansas basketball into something that was so amazing. Yeah. And he built something, and to leave that broke his heart because he knew that it was going to break some people's heart. But he's going home. Who could blame a coach?
Is that the same in corporate America? Okay, so it's one thing, you're talking about a team, they travel together, and they've got this big common purpose. Now we take it into what the typical viewer is looking at. They've got a team. They run a small business, 14 employees, or maybe they're part of a division of a larger company. They got 50 employees. Is the same relationship and the interactions between, is it the same thing? The boss has to let them know, look, we have relationship regardless of performance. Is there, what's the similarities there?
I cannot see a difference. I can't. And some people might say I'm naive. I can't see it. I speak like you do with hundreds of corporations around the country, top ones. I mean, they're the 1, 2, and 3, some of the top corporations in America I've been with. And I would say this if they asked the question, and that is this. What's the meaning of an organization? When you have a name, you name an organization, you have the name up here, that entity, what does it mean? It is defined by people. It's defined by a number of people. Right. And it doesn't matter if there's a product, a service, or whatever. All business is defined by people first. Those people can create it. Those people can sell it. Those people can market it. Those people can communicate with themselves and be a team and make it happen. It's always about people first. And when you come into an organization and say, instead of saying, you've got to sell out for this organization, which is just a name. It's a name given to define people. You got to sell out to this moniker, whatever it is, then we're wrong. I keep waiting for, and I know a few people that do this, for the day that an organization walks in and let's say I'm interviewing you for a job. And the first question I ask you is, number one, tell me about your family. Number two, tell me about your passion. Tell me about the legacy you want to leave in life. What is it that you're really about? And you tell me about that. And then I tell you a little bit about mine. I'm going to hire you. I mean, how many guys have ever heard that? Because I know something. What makes this man's heart tick is what I want to capture in my organization. And if I have interest in that, then I believe that person is going to be loyal. That person is going to be hardworking. Now, once I find that out, I'm going to say, here's the position we have, and this is who we are. Let's you and I discuss for the next 2 hours. This is not a 10-minute interview. How your passion, dream, legacy, and love for your family can be encouraged, enhanced, and brought about with the position we have for you right here. How can our organization help you get there? Are you serious?
That doesn't happen very often.
Are you serious? And if we find out that the salary and the issues around this and the ability to teach you leadership skills and the opportunity for you to do community service, because I'm not going to make you work 80 hours a week, and the life balance and all the stuff that we have in this job, I'm going to push you, I'm going to encourage you, I'm going to hold you to the task, I'm going to, have to follow rules. But if you know that my deal as a leader, as an organization, is that you're important, that you're family first, and that my job is to help you reach your legacy, and if the point at which this job can't help you do that anymore, I want to help you find another one, are you going to come to work differently? Is your family going to stand at the door and go, Daddy, go, I want you working for that organization because they care about you like we care about you? What is wrong with our organizations in America today is that people are going to work for a check. And they know that just like in sport, professional sport, at times they can be a number, and they have they have a life cycle. And if the job isn't done, and it isn't done yesterday, we'll get somebody else in there. And all business struggle with this whole, transitioning of old and new and all that. If we could keep people longer, and they know that we're sold out for them first, and that the organization is just a name, and it's really here to help the people in our organization reach their legacies. My gracious, that's how you build a winning team. That's how you build championships in sport. That's how you make kids strong. That's how families grow.
And
why would it be any different?
It has to be more than a check, because
it sure does.
They're just coming to work for a check, then you got problems. I sat next to a gentleman who spent most of his career as a second, even sometimes third-string quarterback, and we were sitting next to each other at a luncheon, and somebody made reference to it, because it was a close-knit group. There was about 40 of us, and we knew him, so somebody poked a little bit of fun at him. And I turned to him and I said, I always thought the best job in the world would be second-string quarterback. Yeah. All that money with none of those hits. And he chuckled a little bit, and he said, yeah, but at that level, we all like to play.
Yeah,
and it was, here's me going, boy, I'd love to make $3 million a year sitting on the sideline with a clipboard and a ball cap. And he's saying, no, I want to be in the game.
Yeah. All champions want to be in the game.
Yeah, all champions want to be in the game. I want to shift gears and ask you a question. There are people who dominate their industries, winners for long periods of times. Names like Tiger Woods, Barry Bonds, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, although he's probably still yet. We'll go to Joe Montana. Are they unique individuals that other people cannot repeat, or are they individuals who, over the course of experience, et cetera, have unlocked the keys to winning regularly? I mean, I've got this theory that the difference between Tiger Woods and the guy who's number 150 on the money list, probably not a lot in terms of swing, and I mean, they're all really, really good.
I would say, with the names that you mentioned, that we have, this is the wrong term, but the perfect storm coming together.
Sure.
What you have is people that are physical geniuses that come together with mental toughness and great ability to deal with interference. And you bring those two things together and you create a Michael Jordan, you create a Tiger Woods, you create a Wayne Gretzky. Unbelievable talent. So I think the honest answer to that is that these people are special physically, and they're special mentally. Now, the real issue in life is there's a lot of people that are gifted physically that don't understand what you and I teach.
Right.
And they're 150th on the money list.
Right.
Or they're 200th. Or they're in the CBA.
Yeah.
Or they're an NBA bust. Yeah. Because they haven't understood the importance of this. They're not disciplined in the mental side, or maybe more importantly, they weren't parented that way.
Sure.
I think that one of the keys to Tiger Woods, there's some great stuff about Tiger Woods golf is my field, and I love the study of Tiger Woods, is parenting. Yeah. Great parents. His parents knew he was special early, and his dad was the guardian of his dream. Yeah. He took him and moved him forward. And the other thing about Tiger does one of the things we talk about in success, and that is you've got to be self-referenced. When you look in the mirror, you got to say, am I better against that person in the mirror today than I was yesterday? Instead of, am I better than that guy? Am I better than that guy? And that the greatest measure of success that we have is the person staring back from the mirror. And so Tiger Woods wins the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach several years ago. I think he's 26 years old. He shoots 12 under par. He wins by 15 shots. The next closest guy's over par, 3 strokes. He sets the all-time record for the U.S. Open and at Pebble Beach and breaks numerous records. He's 26. Unbelievable. And so they ask him, so what's left for you? Great answer. He said, well, Butch and I were just talking. This is back when he and Butch were together. We were talking on the range yesterday, on Saturday. And he said, we've come to the conclusion that I'm only about 70% there. I've got 30% of improvement to do. And you know what he did? A couple years later, 2 years later, after he got sort of hit a ceiling for him, he changed his golf swing.
Retooled the whole thing, didn't he?
And everybody got on the bandwagon of what's wrong with Tiger? Why would he do that? All these other guys in the past that have changed their swing, some of them never showed up again. Why would he jeopardize that? Oh, by the way, he's married now, and there's a big interference and all this stuff. Bye-bye, Tiger. You'll never get back. And then this year, somebody asked him the question. They said, why did you change your swing? Why did you go through all that? And he said, 1, 2, 1. And they said, what do you mean? He said, that's how I finished in the last 3 majors. First, second, and first. Next question. Cool.
Yeah.
I love the way he interviews.
Yeah.
You know, those great guys, they have a composure about them. They're great interviews. They're gracious people, and they perform. They grew up wanting the ball in their hand at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You got to want that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more people, I believe, that could be there that don't get there because they don't have what we're talking about.
I want to give you this definition that I love, and it fits well because it's whether you're in sports or you're in business, and this is about game day. Performance equals potential minus interference. You mentioned the word interference a couple times. Talk to us about that equation. Performance equals potential minus interference.
Every person I work with, we start with that formula. And the reason is this: the potential is not enough on game day. Game day is a place that is a cauldron of pressure. Game day is an environment unlike any other environment. And for people in business, they understand what game day is about. They have game day moments or game day weeks or game day months. You know, we're talking about performing your best when it means the most.
The big presentation.
That's it.
It's one thing to do it with your little crew as you're prepping. It's another thing to walk into the client who's deciding whether they're going to spend $100 million on an ad campaign.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
You know, or having to respond to a situation that's critical to the future of this business or your position or whatever it might be. Game day is different. And when you look at game day, you see the distractions that are not normal. The interference points. Number one, the voices in your head, the fear of failures, and the perfectionist voice, and the this is it voice, and the conservative voice. They're all competing for your attention. And then we have the past, how you've done in this situation in the past. Then we have the future, like, just think, if this happens, you could hold this trophy, or you could get that promotion, or you would be seen as this. And all of that stuff is just flooding in when it has nothing to do with anything. The issue at hand is, can you take the skills and talents and abilities that you know to be true at a moment in time and focus in on that and get the job done? Everything else is interference. Game day is just a great arena to watch how people filter through interference and align their mind to the purpose at hand. You know, focus is a big deal. And to be able to filter and focus is huge. And that's the difference between an ordinary situation and game day. So, why would I prepare an athlete with the X's and O's? Why would I prepare an athlete with strength training and practice and scrimmage if I never addressed what it's like walking into the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Why would I have a guy hit? I love golf. I do a lot of work in golf. It's the worst practice sport in America. Why do we pound thousands of balls, for those that do, and they're very good players, on a perfectly level, quiet practice range, on perfectly manicured grass with the same club over and over, when the U.S. Open is next week at Shinnecock Hills and the wind's going to be blowing 30 miles an hour?
Grass is this
and
deep.
And the rough is that deep.
Yeah.
And I've got the cameras on, and I'm paired with some of the best players in the world. I better understand that the beating of the balls is a part of sort of getting me physically ready. But if I don't address the environment in which I'm about to walk into, I got no chance. And that's where people go, oh, next time I'm in that environment, I'll be ready. Let's don't wait. Let's don't wait. You don't get to go to a Super Bowl all the time. You don't get to get in an NBA championship all the time. When the opportunity knocks, you better be ready to open the door.
Yeah.
Because destiny comes by only a few times in your life.
We have a lot of people who are in sales. Of course, all of life is sales. You know, we're always selling. And one of the questions I hear regularly, and I want to kind of have you walk us through a real practical step-by-step. I hear a lot of people say, how do you not get nervous when you're going to speak in front of people? And there are people who, just as part of their job, they have to speak in front of 3 or 4 people. Some people every now and then, 300 or 400. Walk us through what you might tell somebody who their game day is going to be making a presentation. Doesn't matter if it's big or small, but they just don't like it. They don't feel right about it. What would you tell somebody? What are the real practical steps that you tell somebody to prepare as they're getting ready for giving a presentation so that they're not thinking about all those things that get them away?
All right, let's think about it. What in that setting distracts you the most? You know, what is it? Mm-hmm. For most people, it's failing in front of a bunch of eyes.
Right.
Or forgetting their lines or thinking they don't have anything to say. Mm-hmm. So let's deal with the fear of failure to start with, because they're in that formula that my success or failure as judged by these people, it has a lot of meaning in this particular setting. So let's deal with that thing first. Let's understand what this whole Let's understand what the perspective, the right perspective with which we're going in there for number one. And then secondly, do you have anything to say? Do you believe in what you're going to say? Is what you're going to say important? If it's not, then don't do it. But if it is, then wouldn't it be important for these other people to have it and to know it? Do you have enough conviction in what you have, the material you're going to share, that it just might make a difference in somebody's life? And if you do, then we've got another step. Let's talk about the people that are coming. Why are they coming? They've got some questions. They've got some issues. They need some information. Do you have something? Do you have something that can trigger a thought, a process, a movement in their life? I think I do. Do you know you do? I know I do. Are you important? Are you doing something that's something you can be passionate about? Then do it. Now, when information is given, it can transform a life, whether it's done with perfection or whether it's done with passion. Just make sure you're passionate about what you share. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody wants perfect. They don't want slick. They want real. They want authentic. Can you be authentic? Are you an authentic person? Do you believe in what you're going to say? If so, now, let's practice it. And let's take everything that's knocked you out of the game in the past, and let's just talk through those things. I call that mental toughness training. Take the issues that have knocked you out, dispel the lies, bring out the truths, and get somebody excited about what they're going to share.
One last question.
Sure.
I know that your purpose, one of your purposes in life is to help people fulfill their destiny, whether it's in sports, business, life. Give us a brief comment on what it means to fulfill your destiny.
Oh, my goodness. I just believe that each person has a distinct purpose for being here. And at the end of our life, we need to know that we made a difference and that we took the skills and talents and gifts that we've been given and that we used it to the fullest. And we need to surround ourselves by people that believe that about us and share our dreams and goals with other people. We need to have dads that are guardians of their dreams. We need coaches to be legacy coaches to people. We need employees to really get after it and do that with people. But at the end of the day, it isn't about success. Success is part of the journey. And if you think right and have the right perspective, you'll have a lot of success. But in the end did I make a difference? And that's all about your legacy. And people have got to spend time looking for it. Sometimes I get frustrated at public schools because we spend so much time teaching math and English and writing and all that stuff. I'm not upset about that part. I'm just upset that we don't help people find and discover their dream and their legacy and then help them get there. A class on life coaching, success in terms of success that's part of the journey, right, but not an end and a means by itself.
Thanks for listening to the Made for Success podcast. Get to know us at madeforsuccess.com/podcast. Meet the hosts of the Made for Success podcast and pick up a free copy of the Totally Motivated ebook by Chris Widener. We will see you next time on the Made for Success podcast.